Okay, I'm live on YouTube. Now I'm going to go on Facebook. YouTube never goes live right away. I don't know why. I always have to give it a couple of goes. Don't know why. That's okay. Oh, I got someone on YouTube now. Okay, so I'd love to know where you're from while we're waiting for everyone to turn up. So where are you from? I'm on Facebook and YouTube. When I'm doing lives, I'm always on YouTube. That's where I save all of my lives. But okay, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. Whoops. Come on. Here we go. Hello. I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. Okay. Oh, that's her. I wrote something down and I thought, where the heck did I put that? I just found it. I thought I'll put it there because I'll find it. You know how you do that? You reorganize something and say, I know I'll never lose it again if I put there. That's how I always lose things. Actually, I never lose anything. My whole life, I think I lost a pink sheet and a softball glove, which turned up in a car I'd sold. It had been in this weird side pocket, evidently. And the pink sheet, never found it. It was about 20 years ago. I lost a pink bed sheet. Not weird. I'm not OCD, but I'm borderline. And I don't like to lose things. I'm very organized. So yeah, that pink sheet haunts me 20 years later. It still haunts me. I still think my ex-husband and my son conspired to drive me crazy when they took that away. I don't know why. I just always accuse them of that. And they didn't deny it too convincingly. So whatever. Okay, so let me see how many people have I got. Yeah, that's enough. Let's get going with the live. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and you can look into coaching. I have a big toddler boot camp course coming up very soon. The email is going out tomorrow morning, so it'll let you know what's going on. Anyway, so that's, yeah, I swore I'd never do a toddler course because I always said, what am I going to say? Toddlers are crazy. The end. Turns out I managed to fill up a course. So anyway, okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions and I'll do the best I can to answer them. So I go from, by the way, if you are new here, I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where I save all my lives. But my big audiences are on Facebook, and then I go up to Instagram, then I go up to TikTok. So the TikTok and the Instagram are really busy lives. So, but yeah, Facebook is not as busy. So I usually get to most of the questions. Okay. 3-year-old daughter and her dad is inconsistent. Okay. 3-year-old daughter and her dad is inconsistent, resulting in her having terrible behavior. Anything I can do to help her process help with behavior? So you mean you live with the dad, or he has a separate home and like you're divorced and he, I don't quite understand that. How old is she? Let me see. Okay, she's 3. They can start to understand. Well, they already understand differences. And by about 3 and 9 months, if you're a really good leader for your child, they're under your umbrella no matter where they are. Okay, they take your leadership umbrella everywhere they go. If they treat you with respect, they tend to treat other people with respect too. So that's the power of this leadership. I remember my son was in grade 2 and the teacher called me on her lunch hour to tell me this. She thought it was so cute. She had said to him, "Why are you so nice?" And he said, "Mommy makes us be nice." So he took that everywhere. He took that leadership and he took it everywhere. So yeah, they carry it. So just work on yourself. You can't change other people, other adults, right? So 2.5-year-old says, "No, mommy, I don't like your attitude. How to stop it?" Just ignore it. Oh, separate home. Yeah, don't worry about the other home. That comes up a lot in coaching. Don't worry about it. Just do your home, okay? Worry about yourself. Don't worry about the other home. So 2.5-year-old says, no, just ignore it. Just say, okay, whatever. Yeah, just follow through whatever needs to be done anyway. So if you're going to brush their teeth and they say no, then you get the toothbrush and you get their mouth and you do it. Like I followed through with actions. Toddlers are all about actions, not words. They're using words against you because that's your world, not theirs. But yeah, if I say I'm going to be changing your diaper or you're going to be going to bed, I'm going to change their diaper and they're going to bed. It's just, I make it happen. It can get ugly, but it's usually, you got to win these wars. They are battles. They are wars. You got to win them. There's no anger. You just calm, you follow through. Now, when I say I brush their teeth anyway, and you're going to say, how do you do that if they're like this and they won't open their mouth? I can pry their lips apart and get a toothbrush in there. It's not done well, but they learn pretty quick. When mom says something's going to happen, I make sure it happens. You're getting in the car seat. No, I don't want to. Oh, they're going to get in that car seat. May take a while. I may be pretty messed up by the end of it, all sweaty and hair all over the place, but they're in the car seat. You got to win the battles. Okay. I get asked this all the time. How do we avoid tantrums? And I'm like, you don't. Those are the lessons. The fit scenes, tantrums, and meltdowns are your children processing that they can't get everything they want, when they want, and how they want it. Okay? That's okay. Allow them to process that. Nothing wrong with that. I have 2 boys, age 4 and 2, and a newborn. Wait a minute. 2 boys, age 4 and 2. And a newborn. So you have 2 boys, must be a girl then. How do I explain the difference in consequences to boys when they do the same thing? Oh, just say because you're 4. Yeah, there must be things, there must be benefits to being 4 also. He probably goes off to kindy or something. He's probably got something more exciting to do too. Yeah, I don't explain that stuff. I just say because you're bigger. That's it. You look like the old guy from Monsters House. Oh, thank you. I don't know who that is. Get a lot of kids on these platforms. It's funny. It was about a year or so ago, I was doing a live and someone said something real snotty on here. And I said, does your mother know you're on here? And they said, I'm a 35-year-old woman. And I said, well, then you should be really embarrassed right now. So childish what they'd said. It was hilarious. Bullying doesn't bother me. Okay. I have 3 children, age 9, 5, and 3. They fight constantly. How do I get them to fight less? Check out my boot camp course. It sets you up as a leader. Children, when they have a leader as a parent, they don't tend to fight because fighting comes from a feeling of injustices and unfairness. Once you're a leader, you're very fair and you're very just, and you know how to take care of business. So the fighting almost stops organically. There are things you can do, but if you're not a leader, they're probably not going to work. That's why I'm not really talking about that as much anymore, because you need some leadership under your belt before you can stop the fighting. Okay. It's not the first thing we start with. Whenever I'm coaching someone, it's not the first thing we start with because you need some leadership clout first. It's like mealtime battles. I just answered an email about a client who said the mealtime, and I said, yeah, no, you don't have enough leadership clout yet to deal with that one. It's a bigger one. Mealtime battles is quite a hard one, believably. I mean, probably hard to believe. Doesn't sound like it is, but it is. It's a hard one. Mealtime battles. Anyway, okay. Sorry for my behavior. It was a joke. Oh, okay. I wasn't laughing. I didn't think it was funny. I'm busy here. I'm helping parents. Don't bother me. Sheesh. Pain in the butt. I have no filter. Okay. My 4-year-old is kind of a bully to his 3-year-old cousin that lives with us. Is that our poor leadership skills? Our other kids are so good. He just likes to be a stinker. Is the 3-year-old antagonizing the 4-year-old? I wonder about that. Or is he just being a bully? Yeah, I would just say no being mean, but you got to be careful how you word that. You don't use the word bully. That's name calling. So you put, let's say he hits or he takes stuff away. Say no grabbing toys off your cousin. So put that on a behavior board. Okay. So put a rule, but be very specific, not attitude. You never say stop being mean because that's in the attitude department. It's too general. It's too broad. So yeah. Seriously, people are so rude. Water on a duck's back. Yeah, it's okay. Now, I used to mentor troubled teenagers. Yeah, I got a pretty tough skin. I'll tell you, there's nothing like dealing with troubled teenagers to teach you how to not worry about all the garbage, right? Yeah. I know how to look past that stuff. I know the pain behind that. By the way, if you're happy, it's impossible to be mean. Impossible. So think about it. Whenever anyone's mean or says something nasty to you, that's a reflection of their low self-esteem and their misery. I just know that to be a fact. So yeah, when you're happy, it's impossible to be mean. It just is. Think about it. You're happy. Can you be mean when you're happy? It's impossible. So I always think that poor miserable person, doesn't mean I want to be around them, They're just a pain in the butt, right? But doesn't mean I want to be around them, but they don't bother me because I know it's their own misery, right? 4 and 2-year-old boys like to help cooking, but I can only say, okay, then just have a night. Say, this is your night, that's your night. And have something else that they can do. Maybe set them up with Play-Doh or set them up with some wet noodles to play with or something behind your back. So yeah, just take turns. Tonight it's your turn, tomorrow night it's your turn. It'll be harder for the 2-year-old to understand that, but they'll eventually get it. My daughter, who is 3, says, I love you, but sometimes I don't. Is that me not having total leadership? Or something a 3-year-old might say makes me so sad. I don't know what you mean by that. I have no idea what you mean by that. Okay. I have to tell you, this is so cute. It's not about parenting, but it's just something that happened today. I was in a Starbucks, and you know how they have those bathrooms that are individual. So you walk in, you shut the door, and that's your own private little bathroom, right? Anyway, this older gentleman, he went, I know I'm an older woman too, but he was quite a bit older than me even, believe it or not. Anyway, he went in there, and he was in there for about a minute. And then a group of people came along, and they didn't know he was in there. So I think they tried the door, and then they knocked on it. Do you know what he did? I've never seen this before. He opened up the door and said, yes, like as if it was his front door to his house. Oh my God, it was so cute. And they were so thrown off by it, they didn't even know what to say. And they just said, oh no, that's okay, we'll wait. And he goes, oh, are you sure? Like, I don't think he understood the etiquette at the Starbucks bathroom. Isn't that adorable? Oh, okay. Sibling rivalry. I have 5 and 2-year-old try to spend time with both, but the 2-year-old will antagonize the oldest, and my oldest will escalate. I don't want to pick sides, but also I don't want to ignore the fighting. Yeah. When kids fight, it's because of your lack of leadership. When you're a leader, they don't fight. It's just the way it is because they trust you to take care of business. Check out my boot camp course. It goes into sibling rivalry in there, but also the more important thing is it's setting you up as a leader. When you're a leader, that's one of those things that kind of takes care of itself. Fighting comes from a feeling of injustices and unfairness, and they feel like you're very just and you're very fair when you're a leader. You learn how to do that. So yeah, check out the boot camp course. By the way, I've got a brand new course coming up very soon. If you're on the newsletter, you'll see the announcement tomorrow morning. It's all done, and it's the toddler course, and it's a boot camp toddler course. So keep an eye out. Okay, thank you. I think I missed where you said I could find more information about building a leadership role with my children. Is that stuff on your YouTube? No. If you go on the link above, you'll see my free behavior board. But the thing I think I was talking about with you was the boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. And it's all about you. I teach parenting here. I don't fix kids. You fix yourself, fix your parenting. I teach parenting, not childrening. I've worked with hundreds of kids, toddlers right up to delinquent, troubled, violent teenagers. I managed to get respect with all of them. Was it them or was it me? It's your leadership. I teach leadership. I teach you how to be like a mentor. I teach you how to get the best out of them, how to make them like themselves when they're with you. Therefore, they want to please you, or at the minimum, they don't want to disappoint you when they're teenagers because they feel good about themselves when they're with you. I teach you how to do that. I don't take any crap, but I know how to get the best out of kids. Check out the pool story. You've probably heard that before. I don't know where it is here on Facebook, but I know on Instagram and TikTok. It's the very first video. It's pinned, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. And it's the pool story, but it's not called that. It's called Example of Leadership Parenting. Anyway, it goes into leadership, and it just explains it perfectly. It wasn't with my kid. It was with this other kid, and how you deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. Oh, I can't say that. Lombardo, nice to see you. You're from Italy, because I know I said before, where are you from? I thought you were Spanish or something, didn't I? Anyway, you said you're from Italy, because I said, what a gorgeous name. I wish I could tell you the name of this client I have. It's so beautiful. Like as soon as I saw this name, I thought, I've got to ask about this. I said, were you actually born like that? Like this gorgeous name. It's just beautiful. But yeah, that's another beautiful name. Okay. Now, Elizabeth Olson, my 3.5-year-old son wants full attention, but gets so much of it already. Very jealous of 2-year-old daughter, runs away, all mad when I'm reprimanding him. Yeah, check out the boot camp course. There again, that's your leadership, lack of leadership. That's a tell. Means if you're trying to reprimand him, I don't really use that word. Correct. I don't know. I don't even use that really. Anyway, check out the boot camp course, or at the very minimum, check out the free behavior board. It's all linked above. Check out the behavior board and how it sort of gets started, how you get organized with that. Okay. My son does vocal stimming, making animal noises constantly. Some have said not to stop the stimming. Others have said, oh, sugar, just a sec. Others have said to redirect it. What do you recommend when it's distracting for siblings and also in school? I can't answer that without knowing more about it. That would be coaching, because it's not in the standard general sort of category. I would have to assess the situation before I could give you any advice. You probably don't need full coaching for that, but I only have full 5-session coaching available these days. But if you have other stuff you want to go through, you might be interested. But yeah, I can't give you, I'd need to assess that. And I don't know. Okay. Okay. How would you suggest helping young teenagers gain the confidence to defend themselves against a bully who calls them fat? Okay. 2 of my favorite subjects, teenagers and bullying. I'm going to tell you, bullying does not come up that often. It's really interesting. It used to come up a lot more. I don't know why in the last few years it hasn't been a topic that's really common these days. On my lives, it hasn't come up a lot. Anyway, there's a lot of different ways you can deal with this, but I'll tell you a story first of all about bullying. This was, I'll lead into it and I'll explain it. Okay, there's always going to be mean people out there. I never wanted to protect my children from bullies. I wanted to teach them how to learn how to handle bullies, okay? Because they're going to be out there. I wanted them to have, handling skills, basically. So anyway, I remember I was in grade 2. I haven't told this story for a while. Anyways, I was in grade 2, and I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of class. This is the first time this has ever happened at school. So, and it was very exciting. I was in the hallway all by myself. I felt like a really big girl. So anyways, as I was walking back to class after the bathroom, coming down the empty hallway was the school bully. I was in grade 2, he was in grade 5, and he was giant. He was a really big, mean kid. And he saw me all alone. It was just the 2 of us in the hallway. And I couldn't get away from him. I had to pass him. So, because my class was he just walked past it and he's coming right for me. And I was like freaking out. I thought, oh no. And he came right up in my face. Now my maiden name was Hanky. And he came right up in my face and he said, "Hanky Panky." And I said, grade 2, I said this. I said, "I prefer Snot Rag and Boogie Bundle. Oh, well, got to get back to class." He looked shocked and he never came near me again. So what I had done, and I teach this, and you do it through role playing with your kids. You be the bully, you be them, they be the bully, you go back and forth. So, but you don't role play with the facts, like you role play with something silly. So I wouldn't use the word fat if you're role playing, okay? If that's what kids are calling her, I would put some, put a silly hat on and then just use that for role playing. Oh, I hate your hat. It's so ugly. But anyway, this is what I do with kids. I teach them how to agree with the bully, use humor, and then redirect. That's what I did. I agreed with the bully, I used humor, and I redirected. Luckily, I came from a really funny family. My mother was very funny. So we used to laugh at our last name and call ourselves, Snot Rag and Boogie Bundle. So I already had that under my belt. But yeah, it just came flying out with this bully. So you role play it though, because telling kids what to say and how to deal with a bully isn't as good as role playing it, and they actually practice it. The more they practice these words, the more likely they are to say it when they're out. It just comes out easier. And don't show fear, don't show emotion, but it's really hard to do. Now, this is the tough part. So someone's calling your daughter fat. What a nasty person. But anyway, that's their own pain. It doesn't make it any easier, right? So let's say it's a tough one because I don't like the word fat. But I would say something like, someone calls her fat. I would role play like this and say, and I wouldn't use the word fat, but I would use something like I'd say, oh, like let's say you're wearing a silly hat. And I would say, "Oh, what an ugly hat." And then say, "Oh yeah, the whole family will have to wear it. It's part of our religion," or something. Anyway, what are you going to eat for lunch? So you agree with them, use humor, and then what are you going to eat for lunch? Now with the fat one, I would want to be specific about that. So unfortunately, but then you don't role play it. But then you tell her, if someone says you're fat and someone calls you that, you say to them, oh, well, runs in the whole family. We're quite comfortable with it. Oh, well, what are you having for lunch? Or what class have you got now? So you gotta kind of brush it off. Just go like that. It is hard to do. It is really hard to do. But it works. It works the charm. I was never bullied. My kids were never bullied. We've all had a bully come at us, but they went on to someone else because they thought, well, there's no point with them because they just used humor and that was it. Didn't bother them. That's the way it came across. Didn't bother us. And it didn't. I love your idea of being a better leader. I need to check out your course. Is learning to become a better leader as exhausting as it sounds? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's a lot of work. But it starts slow. And then you build up and you get more confidence. You'll start to get results and then you'll get like, ooh, this feels good. I know what I'm doing. That's the idea. But yeah, it's work. It's supposed to be work. Anything worthwhile is work. I mean, I never said it was easy. Not at all. Nope. Never said it was easy. I never will. Because you're changing yourself, right? But it's worth it. You're changing yourself. Yeah. Sorry about that, but it ain't easy. But it's worth it. When it works, it's worth it. You just got to put in the work. Okay. Oh, I got a question from Sarah. Tips for sharing time between 3 children. Want to make sure they all have their needs met. You're overthinking that, I think. 3 children. Okay, I've got 3 different methods to teach children how to share. Which one should I pick? They're quite different. Well, I'll assume they're little, okay? So you got 3 kids and you're teaching them how to share. Let's say let's say there's just 2 kids, just to simplify it, but you can just do it with 3 kids. So let's say you go to the park and you got 2 little kids with you and there's 1 swing. I would say, oh, there's 1 swing. Now, whenever kids just never seem to fight around me because they'd look at me like, are you going to solve this problem? When you're a leader, they just, rather than fight, they tend to look to you. That's the way they do it. Okay. They don't fight. They look at you when you're a good leader. So if I saw 1 swing and I had 2 little kids with me, I would say, I'll tell you what, there's only 1 swing, but there's 2 of you. Here's what we're going to do. And I always talk like this, like, I know what I'm going to do. And kids listen. They're open to this, right? So I would say something like, we're going to flip a coin. I never used a coin, but it's like I had a rock and I said, okay, which hand is it? Which hand is it in? And then the kid who picked it, I'd say, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to go first, but you only get 1 minute turn. Every turn after that is 2 minutes on the swing. Do you understand? Okay. And get on the swing and then 1 minute start. You see how I'm orchestrating it? You see how I'm controlling it? You see how fair I'm making it? Like I really know what I'm doing. So you're teaching them how to share. A lot of parents just expect them to know how to do it. They don't all know how to do that. They're not born knowing how to share. You know, the kids who fight the most are twins. From what I've worked with, when they're little, they tend to fight the most is twins. They're good at it because they're fair. They're equal opponents. So yeah, they tend to fight a lot. But anyway, so yeah, try that out. Something like that. Look like you know what you're doing. You're going to get all organized. And like I said, when you're a leader, kids don't fight. If there's something there and there's something that they don't want to share and they don't know how to, they tend to look to you to solve the problem. That's what you want. But once you teach them how to do this, they do it themselves. Okay, so I'm skipping ahead to make sure that you're still here when I answer your question. How do I teach my daughter to stand up for herself? I don't know how old she is and what's going on. Is she 16, 6, 2? I don't know. I need an age. Okay, actually, I'm going to get going. Oh, yeah, I got to get going. I'm moving over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, or you can look into coaching. I have my toddler boot camp course coming out this week. If you're on my email list, which is the behavior board above, you'll check it out. Check out the link above. You'll get the announcement tomorrow on what's going on with that. So anyway, I'm very excited about it. It's another boot camp course for toddlers, parents of toddlers, 1 and 2 year olds. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And I'm heading over to Instagram. I'm on YouTube the whole time. Those were all my, oh shoot. Sorry, I got a message from my daughter. We work together, so just a sec. I know if I don't answer her now, I'll forget. So yeah, we work together full time now. If you go on my website, you'll see a picture of me and my daughter together. She hates being in front of the camera. But yeah, she's on there now. I couldn't believe she did that. Okay, so bye-bye. I'm going over to Instagram. So I was just thinking about something. Forgot I was doing a live. I just had my work. I was looking at something with work. Oh, that's funny. Okay. I don't know why, but I keep being asked if I'm pregnant when I'm wearing this thing. And I do wear a belt with it, like when I'm going out. But around the house, I'm 63 years old. How on earth could a 63-year-old woman be pregnant? So, are you pregnant? Yeah, I'm 63. No. Okay. Just strikes me as funny. I talk about my age all the time. Everyone knows I'm old. But I don't know why people think I'm pregnant all of a sudden. That's funny. Okay, so let's get going with the live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, or you can look into coaching. I have a brand new course coming out this week. It is a new boot camp course for toddlers, 1 and 2-year-olds. If you're on the newsletter, you'll get a message tomorrow. My daughter's sending that out tomorrow. We've worked really hard on this course. It is way bigger than I thought it would be. I always said I'd never do a boot camp, a course for toddlers. Like just the little mini ones are different subject, niche courses. But I always said I'll never do a big comprehensive course for toddlers because what am I going to say? Toddlers are crazy. The end. Yeah, I managed to pack a bunch in. So turns out I had to eat my words. Okay. What do we do if 4-year-old continues to do the same bad behavior that's on the behavior board after giving the consequence? Okay, this is in reference to if you've given 24-hour media blackout because they were hitting and they wouldn't do the first consequence. If you've got the behavior board, you'll understand that. There's 2 consequences for the behavior board for the kids. So if they break the rule, let's say they hit, the rule is that they have to do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. If they don't do that, then they get 24-hour media blackout, or you take something away that they love for 24 hours. Never anything comforting like a plushie that they sleep with, but something fun that you don't really care if they have anyway, like screen time, right? So what do you do if they keep hitting, they keep breaking that rule during 24-hour media blackout? At the most, I would say that's why you've got media blackout. It's going to be one hell of a wild ride for that 24 hours, but they're learning a lot. They're much less likely to do it again next time, okay? So yeah, they've got a bit of a free ride. They can keep hitting, but just say, well, that's why you got media blackout. Don't go on about it. Don't show any anger. Remember, you're a leader. You're in control. You're in control. And then whenever I say that to parents when I'm coaching them, they always say, no, we're not. No, I said the mindset. Have a mindset that you're in control. Yeah, we're not in control. That's why we hired you. Okay. Hi, Sophia from Argentina. Where do you stand on pacifiers for toddlers 2 years old? Yeah, I don't really have a big opinion on that stuff because that's more of a medical issue. Is it good for their gums, their teeth? I don't know. So I don't really have an opinion on that. But if you want to get them off of it, I would do it like pulling off a Band-Aid. Just say, all gone, you're a big boy, you're a big girl, and buy them special sippy cups, something like with a straw that's safe that they can chew on, or something to replace the pacifier with, but it has to be just no pacifiers at all if you're going to take it away. I don't think you can do that in small increments. You just have to say that all gone. Yeah, my son was 18 months old when I took him off the dummies, and I just had him help me put all the dummies in a bag, and then I carried him out to the garage, and we had a big wheelie bin, and I said, okay, you're a big boy now. Let's throw them in there. He knew when mom said those aren't coming out again, he knew they wouldn't. And he never had a tantrum or anything. I couldn't believe it. But every time he'd go like this to look for a dummy, he'd look over at me, and I'd quickly look away. I was never going to get eye contact when he was looking for a dummy. But he never did. It was the weirdest thing. That was lucky because he had tantrums and they either do or they don't. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have a horrible week. Never asked for one. It's bizarre. Couldn't believe it. So yeah. But he was 18 months old. He was starting to learn that when mom said something, it happened. Didn't always like it. That's why he had tantrums, but he was starting to pick up on that energy that, when I say something, it's going to happen. The thing is, I'm careful with what I say because I know if I say something, I'm going to make it happen. We're so grateful for you and your knowledge. It's helped us tremendously as first-time parents. Our 2-year-old daughter shouts back to us now. Any advice? It's such a general, I tend to ignore that stuff. If she shouts, just go, ooh, and then I walk away. Just let her know, no, and then walk away. But just don't walk away in anger. Just walk away as if you're busy. And it's like, ooh, I don't like that. And then walk away. You could try that. Nothing works right away with a toddler. They're in the discovery phase. They're trying everything out. Okay. It's not like you can reason with a 2-year-old. Yeah, they're going to try everything. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. I mean, does that make any sense? To them, it might, So yeah, they're in the discovery phase. You've got to accept that and accept they're going to discover a whole bunch of gross and disgusting and horrible stuff that you hate. It's up to you to sort of snub it and let them know. Snub that stuff that you don't like, that you can't do much about, like the whining and all that sort of stuff. Not much you can do about that other than snub them and let them know they don't get any attention when they're acting like that. Okay, good. Your videos help my mom guilt a lot. Thank you. Does it help you because you know you're not the only one? Or just that, what's the point in having mom guilt? What's the point? You're doing the best you know how. You're on here to learn better. We all do the best we know how. Not the best we can, but the best we know how. Because none of us are ever handed a baby in the hospital and say, we're going to mess you up. Everyone thinks, I'm going to be the best parent in the whole world. And then you realize, wait a minute, they're screaming, they're tantruming. What the heck do I do with this little Tasmanian devil? So yeah, you're not alone. They're crazy, right? I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. As I said, that is the discovery stage. They're going to do crazy stuff and they're going to do it repeatedly. They don't learn right away. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, this is a 1 and a 2-year-old, you do so in their world. You don't take them to the nail salon with you. You go to the park and roll down the hill. You know how many times I came home from the park with leaves in my hair? It was no pride or dignity. Anyway, number 4 is when you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. They're not about words, they're about actions. You use consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. But you got to be consistent. If you do something perfect 9 times out of 10, they'll remember that one time you didn't. When you pick a battle, something that you want to correct, then you have to be consistent with that. They just remember if you mess up. They just do. They don't remember anything that you want them to remember, but they remember when you mess up. I don't know why, they just do. I can't figure them out, which leads to number 5. Stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got 1 marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Yeah, they're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years. In the first year, you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like the whole world is new to them. They're discovering themselves, everything. The dirt and the plants, they're discovering everything. Okay. And I do have a toddler boot camp course coming out. The big announcement is tomorrow morning. If you're on the newsletter, you'll see what it's all about. It's, yeah. Actually, it was a lot of fun to do. I quite enjoyed doing it. Okay, sorry, I'm skipping ahead to make sure you're still here while I answer your question. Okay, how do I respond when my 7-year-old says, I don't love you when she's angry? Here's what you say. Everyone who watches me knows exactly the one word I would say. I don't love you. Whatever. And then just walk away. Get that attitude going. Whatever. Like, they're just doing it to get a reaction. It's manipulative. Don't fall for it. I always tell this cute story. I had this one client with coaching. She was just a petite little lady, real sweetheart. And she had a tiny little voice. She talked like this. She was like a princess, like a fairy tale voice. She was so lovely and sweet, very feminine, one of those types. So I said, when her kids were like, I don't know how old, 9 and 10, and they had attitude, I hate you. And I said, you just go like this, whatever. And I said, let's practice it. Because I thought she's not going to be able to pull this one off with that sweet little voice. So she goes like this. whatever. And I'm like, oh God, I got some work to do. So I was laughing and she was laughing too. And I said, come on now, lower your voice, come on. So eventually we went on for like 5 or 10 minutes. It seemed to take forever. And then one time she goes like this, whatever. And then I said, that's it. Anyway, she said, when she did that with her kids, they went like this. They'd never heard that voice before, and it just stopped them in their tracks. In other words, you can't manipulate me. Doesn't bother me. Say whatever you want. Now, if they say I don't love you when you're riding on Dumbo at Disneyland, then I might look into it. But if they're saying it because they're mad because they didn't get their own way, they're just trying to get at you, that's when you use the whatever. Okay? My 4-year-old is very serious, rarely smiles, laughs, or says hi to people. When I give him a consequence for something, he lays on the ground and won't talk or move for a long time. That's very interesting. I don't know. Do you play with him? Do you play a lot? Be silly? Like every single day I did laundry every day when my kids were growing up. And while I was sorting out all the clean laundry, I mentioned clean laundry, I would take all the underpants and put them on my head. By the way, I only did this with mine. I didn't do it with my husband's. I did it with mine. I'd put all my underpants on my head anyways, and I used the leg holes as the eye holes. And I was an anti-monster. I chased the kids around the house. I think it'd be very hard for a kid to not laugh at that. Like, I was always finding my inner silly, my inner kid. And so, yeah, find your inner silly. You play with kids in their world. Fun is their love language. Fun, humor, happiness, all that joy, that is their love language. Okay. Oh, geez, I got a lot of questions here on YouTube. YouTube is my smallest platform. Like I've got 1.3 million followers, but I think I've got 14,000 on YouTube. So it is my smallest platform. And sometimes I forget to look over there because I don't always have someone on there when I'm doing a live. So sorry if I'm not ignoring you. It's just, I don't have a lot of questions that turn up here. Okay. Oh, okay, I don't even know what this is, so I'm not going to pretend to even guess. Okay, but this is Annie. Could you share opinion on young child, 3.5 in our case, and what seems to be termed after-school restraint collapse, or whatever you'd refer to it as? I don't even know what that is, and I'm very careful. I stay out of other people's wheelhouses. I don't use terms like that. So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to pretend to. But our really great kid becomes an emotional, angry mess after daycare many days. It's tough on us and little sister. Takes a brunt. We're getting much. Okay, check out my boot camp course. That goes from 3 to 12 years old. And that's all about your leadership. Okay. Yeah, she's 3.5. Check out the boot camp course. Yeah, they tend to be less. When you're a leader, it regulates them. They feel safe. They feel taken care of. Yeah, it helps them along with their own emotions. So, like if I was acting crazy around my mother, she was very much a leader. I don't think she corrected me as much as she should have, but she still, when she corrected me, I listened because I looked up to my mom. She was the leader. And if I was doing something crazy, she would have looked at me like this. What's up with you? Or something. She would have said something like that. What you got going on there? I would have been embarrassed because she was my leader. That's what leaders do. They correct you without even doing anything. So I had that same thing over my kids too. I'd go, oh, yeah, you really want to try that? Like, yeah, well, there you go, eh? And they'd go, oh, sorry, mom. So leadership is, you don't even have to do much. Once you're a good leader, you don't even have to discipline kids. They just take care of themselves because they want to please you. My oldest will say, I don't love you. And I always respond with, well, I'll always love you. Yeah, you're feeding it. You're giving them attention because you said, I always respond with. When you just go, whatever, chances are you won't get it back very often. You know what I mean? You're getting it. If you say always, that means it keeps happening. So that's why, because you're giving it attention. I don't give that any attention at all. I don't even love you. Whatever. And then I go back to doing the dishes or, yeah. That it's not a bad technique, but it's not one I would use because I want to stop that behavior. It's just annoying, right? I would rather stop that than answer it. Yeah, you're responding to something that I wouldn't respond to. Okay. Now, 6-year-old whining about Kumon homework. So Kumon. Some people pronounce it differently. I can't remember how. But anyway, 6-year-old whining about homework. 10 pages takes forever, and she used to get it done fast. Okay, homework, there's lots of different ways you can deal with that. One of my things with my kids is if they needed to do something, I withheld what they wanted to do. So I taught them from a very young age, you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. So if I wanted them to do something and they'd forgotten to make their bed or they hadn't put their toys away, I waited. I never nagged my kids. I never told them what to do, really. They already knew they had to put toys away or whatever. So I waited till they asked for something. Mom, can we go in the pool? Mom, can we do this? I'd say, sure, sweetie, as soon as you've done your homework. So I used it as leverage. I used everything else as leverage. Can I go on the machine? Sure, sweetie, as soon as you finished your homework. So it's kind of nice to use leverage, the as soon as method, I call it. That's an easy one to start with. So yeah, try leverage. Say, sure, you can watch screens tonight. Sure, you can watch a show as soon as you've done your homework. So there's no punishment. It's just there's incentive to do the homework. So yeah, I used to wait till my kids asked for something. Then I'd say, sure, sweetie, as soon as you've cleaned up your room. Oh, sorry, Mom, I forgot. And then they'd run and do it. I was never really telling them what to do. So I remember I thought I should write a book, why I never told my kids what to do. Because I just waited till they asked for something. Then I'd say, sure, sweetie, as soon as blah, blah, blah. And then they just did it automatically after that. They just learned. And then they got to the point where they wouldn't even ask me for something unless they knew they'd done what they needed to do. So they learned from a really young age. You got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. I would say by about 3.5, they figured that out. They knew Mom would say, well, sure, of course you can do that. But as soon as you do that. So. 2-year-old crying till she's blue if I don't pick her up. Yeah, I would never pick a kid up. But if they're going to pass out, I can't tell you what. Oh, so frustrating. I just answered, I think it was an email. I can't remember. Anyway, someone asked me about that. They literally have a child who passes out. They hold their breath and pass out. Now, I can't even really talk about this because I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. But there's something, so frustrating. Yeah, I can't even talk about it. But yeah, if they do turn blue and hold their breath, there's a doctor once told me something really unbelievably simple. You can do it anywhere and it works a charm. But I can't tell you what it is because I'm not a doctor. But a doctor told me. And he was an older doctor, and there were younger doctors in the room who went, oh, wow. So even they were, it's an old kind of an old wives' tale kind of thing, an old common sense kind of thing. But I don't know, I can't recommend it. So I can't even say it. Does that make sense? You understand why I can't say it? I'm worried about liability because if I talk about medical stuff, I'm not a doctor. Might not work for you. I don't know. But yeah, there's something I always did with kids if they held their breath. Never had a problem with it working. Okay, what time is it? Oh, I got to move. I got to go over to TikTok. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. By the way, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, or you can look into coaching. I have a brand new course coming out for toddlers, parents of toddlers. We did it. We got it done. My daughter and I got it done. Anyway, if you're on the newsletter, you'll get the big announcement tomorrow. And it's actually being launched on August 1st. Very excited about it. I always said I'd never do a course on toddlers because what the heck would I write? Oh, Xanadu. I'm not condoning anything you're saying. Xanadu. Xanadu 22. You're the first person who's ever said that. Do you know how many times I've skirted around that issue and not said anything? And you're the very first person that's ever come out with that comment. I'm not condoning it in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, you're the first person that's ever said that. Interesting. You'd think more people would have. Yeah. Anyway, what was I just talking about? I can't remember. Anyway, parents of teens. I love teenagers. They're my favorite age. If you want to ask me teen questions, I'm heading over to TikTok now. Thanks for joining me. Happy parenting. Bye now. I got so many buttons to push these days. Come on. And that. And that. That. And that. Okay. So I just got to take a drink. My mouth's getting dry. I can't believe that person said that comment. That's the first time anyone's ever done that. If you're on YouTube, you probably didn't see that. God. That was fun. Okay. I kept waiting for someone to say that over the last couple of years. It's the first person who's ever said that. It was such a good one. But I can't even repeat it. Okay. Were you just on Instagram? Do you know why I'm smiling? Because of Xanadu 22? For 2 years now, I've been looking for someone to say that. That's the first time that's ever happened. If you were just on Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. Isn't that funny? In 2 years, that's the first person. Okay. Overstimulated mom tips. Were you just on Facebook or no, on Instagram? Yeah. So in other words, stress, you're pulling your hair out, you're going nuts. If you've got toddlers, I think a lack of understanding them is very stressful. I do have a course coming out for parents of toddlers, and keep an eye out for that. I went through that stuff. But the bottom line is, I don't know what age your kids are, though. Maybe you could tell me what age they are first. So you said overstimulated mom. So if you could write down overstimulated mom and then the ages of your kids. So put it all together or else I won't know. Okay. Yeah, tips for dealing with a narcissistic parent. You're not going to like my answer. Don't ever call a parent a narcissist, because it's going to come out. Those kids are going to hear it from you somewhere. And also the word narcissist is so overused. I'm 63. I've only ever met one true narcissist. Lots of people have narcissistic tendencies, but a true narcissist is something else. They're next level. But they're very good at hiding it. It's not till you know what's happened behind the scenes that you realize, wow, that is something else. But yeah, it's a whole other level. So yeah, it's so overused. Love your videos. My almost 3-year-old listens to Mom But Not Dad. Is it a phase or weak parenting? I don't like to call it weak parenting, but it's a lack of leadership. Usually they don't listen to the pleaser. The pleaser is the weaker one, if you want to call it that. But I don't like to use the word weak. But yeah, that's why. When you're a leader, they listen. They just do, because they just do. They look at you differently when you're a leader. I've worked with hundreds of kids, teenagers, toddlers, and I know how to get them to listen, because it's tone of voice, body language, and confidence. It's all confidence too. But I learned all this when I was a kid, really. I was volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. And I kind of was always good at this. I kind of just got kids. I kind of just understood how I use fun as leverage. Fun is their love language. So I use that. I know how to make them feel good about themselves by having fun. I play hard with kids. I play with kids. And I get that connection. It's not about disciplining kids. It's about connecting with them. Being a leader is not about discipline. Discipline is just a pesky thing you have to do on the side. It has nothing to do with really what I talk about. That's just what people want to know. Like in coaching is very different from this. Coaching is I take total charge of it, and I guide parents where I want them to go. And it's mostly 99.9% about how to connect with your kids. Discipline's a tiny part of all this. You want to connect with them. Okay. Did you guys come over from Instagram? Anyone who did knows why I'm just so excited by Xanadu 22's comment. I've been skirting around that issue for 2 years, looking for someone to comment like that, looking for that. It's the first time in 2 years. On all these lives I do. It's the first time in 2 years that someone's made that comment. I've been waiting for it. Isn't that funny? And then it came out. I just about jumped out of my seat. So if you came over from Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. I can't talk about it, but you'll know what I'm talking about if you just saw that. Okay, what happens when they disrespect teachers at school? They can't always have fun and be silly with them. Consequence? Yeah, no, I don't teach teaching. I teach parenting. That's different. Teaching is completely different. Completely. A huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. They struggle with parenting just like everybody else because they're taught a certain way how to do their jobs with children. Those are jobs, those are businesses, those are institutions. I teach personal, at-home, one-on-one parent-child relationship. Completely different. It just is. It's very different. So I don't teach teaching. You have to ask your principal or about that. I don't know. How to set healthy boundaries? I don't know what you mean by that. I have no idea what you mean. I don't know. How do you connect with your under 2-year-old? You play with them, play in their world. You watch how they play and you join in. You can change things once you're playing, but you got to get them looking at you like, oh. So whatever, and especially when I was working with disabled children, children with lots of challenges, autism or whatever, or a lot, really challenged, cognitive issues. I would, whatever they were doing, I would join in and do what they were doing. Even if they were hitting themselves, I would go like this. And then I change it. Once I'm in their world, then I can adjust things. But I've got their attention. So yeah. Okay, overstimulated mom. My boys are 2 and 4. Yeah, okay. I would suggest that you look at the behavior board or the boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old. I've got a toddler one coming out. I wouldn't bother with that one first anyway. I would go to the 3 to 12-year-old one and check that out because the little one is watching you with the older one. Okay. You're overstimulated because you don't know what to do, right? If you have a plan, it's something that okay, this will work. It's going to be hard, but I know what to do now. Then you tend to calm down a little bit, right? We're all kind of like that. If you don't know what to do, yeah, I get nuts too with certain things. You should see me at tax season. I'm a mess. But wait a minute, the personal taxes and the corporate taxes, don't they go together? No, one's corporate and one's my accountant just thinks I'm insane. So yeah, we all have stuff, but once I get it, I get into a role and then I sort of, oh, right. And then, but we all have stuff that we struggle with. I remember once an accountant said to me, and I've talked about this. I have, I don't know if it's a phobia, but I definitely, every time the word tax is brought up, it's almost like I soil myself. I just have a phobia around it for some reason. I do it, but anyway, one time years and years ago, I asked an accountant something and I said, am I the worst client, the dumbest client you ever had? She said, yes. At that point, she knew I had a sense of humor, but yeah, we all have our stuff. But then once I start to research it and understand it and get a plan, then it gets easier. Consequence ideas for 4-year-old that enjoys chores. There's always something they don't like. Cleaning a windowsill. There's always something. Okay. But also don't get too caught up in the consequence. It's just doing a good deed. They don't have to absolutely hate it, but it's doing a good deed. So you do something naughty, then you replace it with a good deed. So don't get too caught up in what the consequence is. That isn't the point here. There's no magic consequence to teach them right from wrong and get them to do the right thing. It's a matter of consistency. So you did something bad. Now you do a good deed. You do something good. And by the way, they only like chores until they're good at them. All little kids. I remember I was coaching someone and they said, oh, well, my 3-year-old, she just loves to help me clean. And I said, yeah, wait till she's 13. Years later, they ended up hiring me when she was when she was a teenager, because that often happens. They come back as teenagers are different, right? And that's my specialty. I love teenagers. So anyway, they hired me and I remember when you said, wait till she's 13, she's going to hate chores. And she said, boy, were you right. So we sure laughed. Her room was filthy and, it was hilarious. Okay, top 3 tips on being a leader. That's my top. Oh, you knew I had 3 of them, didn't you? Okay, or maybe you're just guessing. Okay, these are my top 3 leadership qualities. Number 1 is you stay calm during the storms. When you're disciplining, you stay completely calm. It's like a business transaction. No emotions, nothing. And then number 2 is and keep it short but sweet. Not sweet, keep it short but sour. Anyway, so it is negative, but it's still keep it short. Okay, so number 2 is be crazy during the rainbows. When everything's good, be crazy, be silly, be fun with your kids. Have fun with them. So calm during the storms, crazy during the rainbows, and then become a great listener. Learn how to listen, to understand, and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. My mom, she used to drive me nuts with this, but I look back and I think, God, that was smart. And I did the same with my kids, actually. Whenever I went to her with a problem, and I was little, I said, Mommy, what should I do? Someone at school is being mean to me or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if I talk like that. Stupid. Anyway, so she would say, well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then I always thought I was solving all my own problems. She got me to problem solve. So I grew up very confident, quite independent. Like I kind of had a lot of confidence. And I raised my kids the same way. I never told them what to do. I said, well, look, you can figure it out. And then we talk about it. And I'd say, well, what do you think? And then I might say, well, I know what I used to do when I was a kid. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And then they'd say, oh, yeah. And they'd often come up with an even better idea. So, yeah. So become a great listener. Don't be a lecturer. Okay. God, you're going to hate me. How to discipline a teenager for sneaking out of the house to make connection and keep safe. Okay. Well, you're right. You get the connection going first, and then you can deal with the bad behavior. So they're sneaking out because they don't respect you. When they respect you, they tell you everything. They just do. They just don't do that because they don't want to disappoint you. They'd be embarrassed because they look up to you. When you're a leader with teenagers, you're backing up. I'm going to read my top tips for teenagers, actually. Okay, my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. I just said that. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with because they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. When they're teenagers, they already know it anyway. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything with a teenager or whatever you can. You say something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? You're building reciprocity. Give respect to get it, okay? Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. Sneaking out is not small stuff. That's big stuff. But you can't deal with the big stuff until you've sort of got some of this leadership going. I'll get into that in a minute. So don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? And laugh it off. And number 4 is don't leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. This comes up a lot in coaching, and I always warn them not to do this. I teach them how to connect with their teenager. And then they're out, let's say, at Starbucks or something with their teenager. And then they're having a great time for the first time in maybe a couple of years, right? They're actually enjoying each other's company. And then the parent will say, boy, this is great. You were so rotten the last couple of years. This is wonderful. They'll use the good times as leverage to talk about the bad times. It's revenge. It's just revenge. The parents can't help it. They have to get it out. Huge mistake. They'll shut you out and won't tell you anything after that. So anyways, those are my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Now, if they're sneaking out of the house, that would be, you'd have to hire me for coaching. I can't help you with that because I don't know your relationship. I don't know the situation. How old are they? How long have they been doing it? What are they doing when they sneak out? How do you find out they snuck out? Anyway, so in coaching, what I do is the first week or 2, all I do is focus on connecting, how to understand teenagers, why you have to do certain things that you have to do with teenagers. You have to let a lot go. You just have to. And you have to give a lot. It's a lot of give and then very little get. Okay. And then by usually the 2nd, maybe 3rd week, then we can start to sort of just touch on the stuff that you want to improve. The whole idea is once you've got that leadership stuff going and that respect going between you, it's mutual respect. They tend to tell you everything and they don't want to disappoint you. There's a lot of power with this stuff. My son was 15 years old. I think he had it in him, not in a big way, but he was the type who would have liked to have rebelled a bit. He had that in him a little bit. And he was kind of mad when he said this to me. He was 15 or 16. I think he was 15. And he says, "You've been a really difficult mom." And I thought it was great. I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah," he says, "I could never rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to." I was like, "Oh, sorry," Anyway, I think I did apologize. I told him to go clean his room and he never did. Rebellion taken care of. Anyway, so yeah, once you've got this stuff figured out, you know how to give respect to get it, then yeah, they don't rebel. They don't do stuff like that. So it's hard work though. It is very hard work with teenagers because you've had 15 years to get where you are. It's not going to go away in 15 days, probably more like 15 weeks or more. So, and once we finish coaching, your work does not stop there. You got to keep going on your own. Lots of parents of teenagers hire me repeatedly, just because it's hard work, right? I never said it was easy. Never will, but it's worth it. And this is what you should see my clients when they start to get it, and they're so empowered. They just feel so good about themselves, and their relationship with their kids is just so different. So yeah, it's very rewarding. Okay, actually, I've got to get going now. If you want to sign up to the newsletter in the link above, I've got a new course coming out tomorrow. You'll see all about it. It's the toddler course, the boot camp course for parents of toddlers, 1 and 2 year olds. I always swore I'd never do that because I thought, what am I going to say in that course? Toddlers are crazy, the end. But turns out I threw a whole bunch of stuff in there. And you'll see it's quite different from the other boot camp course. It's set up quite differently because it has to be. Toddlers are brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. And yeah, anyway, okay, I'm very excited about that. My daughter and I just finished that up actually over the weekend. So we're just putting the finishing touches on it. So it's all done. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. And I'll be back again, hopefully tomorrow. I just never know what time. I got a lot of clients tomorrow, so I might not be able to do a live. Anyway, we'll see. Take care. Bye now.